This is your home for St. Cloud State hockey, keeping you up to date on the NCHC.
One-timer coming, they score! Ripped in! A bomb from Permix!
Women's WCHA.
So Dana Rasmussen fires and she scores! Dana Rasmussen for the Huskies alongside
The National Hockey League.
Dwayne Kaprizov in for a chance to win it! He scores! Kirill, the thrill is for real! Welcome to the NHL, a game winner!
And everything from the state of hockey.
St. Cloud Cathedral is now 42.6 seconds away from wrapping up the school's first ever title.
Welcome to the Huskies Warming House Podcast Den. Welcome into episode number 87 here, the Huskies Warming House Podcast. We've got a good one here for you Sunday this morning, November 14th. I'm Noah Grant, joined alongside a new co-host this morning, and Alex Micheletti, son of Pat Micheletti, and a former guest on this show, has his own podcast that is much more successful than ours. So we're super happy to have him on the show and have him with us. Alex, it's a pleasure to have you here. We'll catch up with you in a few moments. Of course, we've got a lot of things to talk about, most notably men's hockey earning the sweep against Nebraska Omaha here in St. Cloud State. A little bit of kind of discussion about the college hockey world. Your Mankato Mavericks were able to take care of business, although in unceremonious fashion, a little bit more on Saturday night, last night. A little bit about the Minnesota Wild and their kind of run that they've had. A pretty good month in November so far for them. And then our extra ice session, we've got a smorgasbord of topics that we'll be discussing, potentially relating to some goaltenders and some goal scorers. So stick around, you won't want to miss it. And we'll start with the Center Ice View News and Notes and the Huskies Illustrated Weekly Roundup. Center Ice View News and Notes. Center Ice View provides you with the best coverage of St. Cloud State Huskies hockey, from game notes, recaps, photos, and more. Go to centericeview.com. Into Center Ice View News and Notes, the Huskies Illustrated Weekly Roundup. St. Cloud State men's hockey back in action in the NCHC this week. They're facing a pretty good Omaha team, a team that actually ended up with the same record as the Huskies at the end of the contest on Saturday. Both teams improving to 9-3 on the season. On Friday, the Huskies riding a pair of goals from Vieti Mietinen and a pair from Easter Brodzinski and a marker from Joey Molinar, a 5-1 win for the St. Cloud State hockey team. And on Saturday, the Omaha Mavericks, despite being, I would say, largely outplayed in that hockey game, they responded with a split in a 3-2 overtime victory. Jack Peart, Kevin Fitzgerald were the goal scorers on Saturday, but it was Taylor Ward from former Golden Gopher Brandon McManus, 2:46 in overtime to cap off the loss for the Huskies. The men's team, like we said, 9-3 overall in the year and 3-1 in conference play. They're going to travel to Western Michigan for a duo of 6 p.m. Central Time starts in Kalamazoo. And women's hockey, they're back in action after a bye this week. They're at home on Friday and at Ritter Arena on Saturday to take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Should be a good one, and good to see the college hockey world ramping up, Alex.
Yeah, it's getting it's getting to the best time of the year. We're getting, into the conference play and rivalry games. So, nothing beats that. And it's going to be a fun Frozen Four this upcoming in next year in Boston. So, that's a fun sports town, and, just can't wait. We got some amazing teams. It's going to be a lot of fun. Michigan will get a chance to get back there after losing their season from COVID and with all their number one draft picks. And you got Mankato, St. Cloud, Duluth, the Gophers in the mix. So you got the Minnesota schools right in there too. So it's going to be fun stretch here coming up.
Yeah, no mention of North Dakota in there, and I like to see that, Alex. I'm pretty excited about that. Speaking of our Minnesota teams, Alex, if we're rolling right through here, the Minnesota Wild, they've improved to 10-4 on the season, right? Good for first in the Central Division. 5-1 in the month of November so far, as of recording time on this Sunday, November 14th. Ottawa, Pittsburgh, the Islanders, Arizona, and Seattle, all victims of the Minnesota Wild this month. Their only loss against Vegas in a 1-goal hockey game really wasn't a 1-goal game until that third period, though. Kind of a tough showing in Vegas, which is funny because Minnesota was the last team to be beaten in regulation by Vegas, and they play the Golden Knights pretty good at home at the XL Energy Center, but of course on the road, a little bit different story. The big storyline came last night. Rem Pitlick, his natural hat trick, becoming the 31st player in NHL history to score his first 3 NHL goals in the same game. Minnesota hosting San Jose and Dallas upcoming on Tuesday and Thursday before a swing to the Sunshine State on the weekend. Florida will be they'll be in Florida Saturday, and Tampa Bay they'll visit on Sunday. Rem Pitlick, like we mentioned, first 3 NHL goals in the same game. I'm trying to think, would it be Austin Matthews that would be the last one that completed that feat? Of course, he had a 4-goal performance in scoring his first 4 goals in his first NHL game. I'm trying to think if there was any player that would be in between that would be the next one. Can you think of any, Alex?
Well, there is a famous one that has St. Cloud connections. I'm not sure if it was before or after, but Ryan Poehling got a hat trick.
Oh yeah,
too, with the Canadians.
Yeah,
he scored the other night too, against Detroit. So it was good to see him healthy and ready to roll. So.
Yeah, I'm surprised I missed that one. Although in my mind, I'm thinking of Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews has been in the league for a couple of years now, and it's funny how time flies. It feels like he's only been there for 2 or 3 years, and I feel a lot younger than I really am. So
yeah, it's incredible. He's an assistant captain, and so it's just he's so much fun to watch. He got the overtime winner against Calgary the other night too. That was it's so much fun to watch him shoot the puck. He's got one of the best releases for sure in the game.
Yeah, he's a player that when you see him come down the ice with speed, you know that 1, you're in trouble, and 2, wherever he's coming down the ice is probably not where his stick's going to end up shooting it from. The way that he has that little toe drag release, one of the, like you mentioned, one of the purest goal scorers in the game. In our second to last story of this week, a little bit of a kind of sadder news in some respects. New developments on the sexual assault cases and stories that we've been following on this podcast. Starting in Chicago, settlement talks between the Blackhawks and Kyle Beach. They've already kind of hit some rocky roads, which is tough to hear. Beach's lawyer said Thursday that she's disgusted by the Hawks' lack of fair play with their recent handling of Beach's lawsuit. 2 weeks ago, Hawks CEO Danny Wirtz, he had kind of instructed the team lawyers to reach fair resolution in that lawsuit, which did open talks on November 2nd. But last Thursday in a letter, the Blackhawks called Beach's lawyers' initial financial demand extraordinary. But Beach's lawyers said that the Hawks, they won't even provide their own offer for a counter offer there, and essentially declined to disclose her initial statement demand publicly. But it's been said that it included the estimated earnings that Kyle Beach would have made over a typical NHL career had he not been allegedly assaulted as a 20-year-old prospect. The Hawks obviously were pretty upset by that fact. In our other story, the Pittsburgh Penguins reaching a settlement via mediator just this Tuesday in their lawsuit alleging they negligently retained a minor league coach who sexually assaulted another coach's wife in 2018. Lawyers for Jared and Aaron Scald announced the settlement in a news release on Tuesday. In terms of that settlement, were not disclosed. So, of course, Bill Guerin was kind of mentioned in that article or that lawsuit for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, part of the Pittsburgh organization. But Alex, we're making baby steps in the hockey world. It's tough to see the Kyle Beach situation kind of go the way that it's going. I know it's still progressing, but ever slowly. And I don't know what the appropriate financial compensation is for something like that. I'm not, I'm not here to comment on that, but I don't even know what else to say. It's good to see things going in the right direction, but hopefully we can find a resolution soon for Kyle Beach and the Blackhawks and be able to move forward as a collective group in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was really sad. I mean, he was the only one from his draft class in that first round to never play in the NHL. So, he deserves any type of compensation back to him for what he went through. And, now he's playing over in a lower division in Germany. And so, he's only a year older than me. He's 31, and so to see him never get that chance to play in the NHL, it's really tough. And but like you said, baby steps getting there. It's good to see here in 2021 that we're finally starting to get some of these people out of positions of power that they were in, and improve the game, and get everybody involved. And you're seeing diversity get more into the game, which is great. I watched the Wild and Seattle last night, and JT Brown is commentator for the Kraken now, and so that's really cool. And so just getting more and more groups of people involved is great, and starting to get rid of some of the bad side of things of hockey. And so yeah, I'm right there with you. It's good to see, slowly, but we're getting there.
And listening to the diversity around the NHL, of course, Leah Hextall, who did a lot of the NCAA tournaments, she's a kind of a pure voice for NHL hockey as well too. So, like you mentioned, we are getting there slowly but surely. But like these things usually do, they kind of take time, and feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back at times. But hopefully, we are headed in the right direction. You mentioned a little bit about people in positions of power. We've got one of those general manager out in Anaheim in our final topic of the week, as well as a handful of players that are injured, a jersey number being retired, and the NHL having a new twist on the All-Star weekend. Starting in Anaheim, the Ducks general manager Bob Murray resigned from his position on Wednesday. He's going to enter the alcohol abuse program after nearly a 14-year tenure with the club, joining the club in 2005 and general manager since 2008. The Ducks placing Murray on leave Tuesday amid an investigation into his professional conduct before his resignation, where it was alleged that he berated fellow colleagues. He was prone to outbursts, creating a toxic work culture that through repeated verbal abuse of Ducks players, staff, and personnel, as well as temper tantrums and intimidation tactics. So a difficult thing to hear in an Anaheim franchise that has otherwise kind of been known for some of the more classy things that have happened on the organization. Paul Kariya's retirement, Teemu Selanne, of course, Ryan Getzlaf passing Selanne in the all-time points. They usually do a pretty good job keeping it fairly low key in Southern California, but that one hopefully welcomes a better change for that organization, and a group that still kind of is up and down on the ice, but they've got some good young guys, including former Denver Pioneer Troy Terry, who's one heck of a hockey player. Got a chance to see him play a couple of years ago, and actually got to see him play after he scored the game winner in the shootout on that Thursday at the World Juniors. He was playing that Saturday night for Denver and scored 2 goals and didn't look out of place at all. So a good hockey player there. In Columbus, the Blue Jackets retiring former superstar Rick Nash as number 61 to the rafters on March 5th. Nash, the first player in franchise history to receive the honor for the Jackets. They drafted him first overall in 2002. A 5-time All-Star, franchise all-time leader in games played with 674, goals with 289, 258 assists to lead the team, and points with 547. Nash also was the team captain from 2008 to 2012, a well-deserving player. Kind of finished his career, bounced around. He was with Boston for one of their cup runs as well. But good to see him. I believe he's still in the game with Columbus. I believe he's in a general management or executive role, I should say. So kind of good to see him. Alex, do you remember back in the day, were you a big Rick Nash fan growing up? I suppose that would have been the prime years of your young hockey fandom, if you will. Yeah,
right in my wheelhouse. I mean, it was, some of the goals he scored were just highlight reels. I mean, you can still look them up on YouTube. It's incredible. I mean, and he was right there for the beginning of that, franchise and getting there on its feet. He's incredible. He was incredible, in the Olympics too. And so, yeah, definitely a fun player to watch. And it was cool to see his journey, not only through Columbus, but like you mentioned, Boston. He played for the Rangers for a good portion too. And so, yeah, very fun player. I wish he was still playing, but sometimes when you start that young, sometimes just the wheels start to fall off a little bit when you're in your mid-30s. But like we mentioned, Austin Matthews, he was one of the best pure goal scorers for his era, and it was fun to see him turn into a captain of an NHL team as well. And so, yeah, definitely a fun player to watch.
Yeah, kind of interesting. The Columbus Blue Jackets had him, and then the Minnesota Wild had Marian Gaborik. It kind of seemed like both those franchises had their guy that had similar styles of play. Yeah, you think about him potentially still being in the league. That would be his 19th year coming up. That it would be since his draft class or so. So, yeah, hockey definitely takes a toll, but he has earned that retirement and had a very good career, not only with Columbus, but the rest of his National Hockey League career. Kind of wrapping up our little bit of notes here in Vegas. The All-Star Game, a report has come out that the NHL wants to hold All-Star skills events, their newly designed events, on the Vegas Strip outside this year. Kind of a different twist. The NHL presented a plan to the city this week, and Vegas is going to host the All-Star weekend on February 4th and 5th. Before we get to our two injuries, Alex, do you think this is a feasible thing? It kind of has feelings of the LA Kings and Wayne Gretzky playing in a parking lot in the mid-90s.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so thankful that we have Vegas in the NHL. I mean, it's worked out tremendously. They're a great team, great city. It's that arena is always buzzing too whenever you watch a game. It's never not dull in there. And all the theatrics that they do, the pregame stuff, it's incredible. I think it will do well. I mean, it brings eyes to league, and that's what the league wants. You know, they're back on ESPN, and so any type of publicity, good publicity, the league can get, they are all for it. And so I'm all for trying new things. You know, it could go horribly, but I think it's cool. The bright lights. You'll get like Alex Ovechkin out there. You know, and so all those big names, and it'll be fun. I think for sure.
Yeah, if Alex Ovechkin actually decides to show up to the All-Star game, right, which is pretty hit or miss some years, right, but you can't blame him. He's made so many of them. And like you said, it could be a monumental failure. The thing that I think about as a player is, especially in an NHL building, it's warm enough in there. So being outside down in the desert, it's kind of an added piece. Doesn't matter what time you hold it, but nonetheless excited. Like we mentioned, February 4th and 5th, that Friday, Saturday, that's when you're going to get some of those festivities going on there. Finally, only two injuries to kind of note in the National Hockey League this week. Nathan MacKinnon out 3 weeks with a lower body injury, and Ottawa defenseman Eric Brandstrom will miss 6 to 8 weeks after sustaining a broken hand. Once again, welcome in to episode number 87 here on the Huskies Warming House podcast. Noah Grant alongside Alex Micheletti. Alex, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. We've had you here for about 15 minutes now, and the begging question is, one, what have you been up to this week? What are you up to this week? And two, what were your first reactions when you got the call to be the new Nick Maxon for this week?
Yeah, I love it. I love joining any podcasts I can, and especially hockey ones. That's right up my wheelhouse. And so, yeah, it's fun. On Sunday nights, I do the Locked On Wild podcast with Seth Topol, and so we always have fun recapping the weekend for the Wild and in the Central Division and the rest of the league. And like we mentioned earlier, I mean, this is the best time of the year. We got college hockey and NHL hockey going simultaneously, and so it's fun to talk both. And also on Thursdays, I also help out, do the MN NCAA college hockey podcast. So we talk about all the all the college hockey teams here in the state of Minnesota. And so we do that with Hoppy, with the Soda Pod Boys. And so that's a lot of fun too. So yeah, a lot of watching college hockey and NHL. You can't beat it for sure.
Yeah. Do you and Nick and I talk about this, and of course, fans, like you mentioned, the last podcast, MNNCAA, that's where you can find Mr. Nick Maxon as well. He kind of talks a little bit about, how much fun it is, but it kind of feels like, especially from the broadcaster perspective, of course, you can catch Nick Maxon on Fox 9 Husky Productions, doing his incredible role in studio there. Do you ever feel kind of that burnout sometimes, when you get up on a Sunday or a Monday where you feel like, wow, I watched a lot of hockey this weekend? Or do you kind of feel like this is what you do and you wouldn't trade it for the world? Like, is it a little bit of mixture of both, or do you feel like the train is still rolling steady, at least into November?
A little bit of both. I'm just thankful that the Wild aren't stuck with the Pacific Division all season, because those are some of the late games, and then you got to get up early for work the next day. So that's kind of a drag. But it's the best. get to watch the best league in the world, in both, NHL and then college hockey too. We got some of the best teams in the nation right here in our state. So it's fun to flip through all the college hockey and NHL. It's, there's nothing better. I mean, last night was so much fun. Some of the late games were just fantastic. The Wild beating the Kraken, trying to hold on to that lead that they had. The third period was kind of crazy. And then Vegas scored 7 on Vancouver. And so Vancouver's given up 7 goals back-to-back games. So, it's fun, especially when those high-enders get rolling. It's incredible. We've seen just some amazing goals this past week or so. Connor McDavid going 1-on-4 against the Rangers. We had Matthew Tkachuk going in between the legs against the Rangers. So the Rangers had some tough goals go against them, but they also had an amazing goal from former Wisconsin defenseman Keandre Miller. He went coast to coast and scored. And so it's fun. It's fun watching these guys just score some incredible goals. And, they're making really good defensemen look just average, and like, well, how are they in the NHL? So it's incredible.
Yeah. And, you can't really get any better than having all that action and looking to know that Minnesota is one of only 5 teams to hit the 10 win mark this season, sitting atop the Central Division at 20 points. We're going to touch on them in a little bit in their kind of journey. Like we mentioned, 5-1 in the month of November. So it's been an exciting road for this Minnesota Wild club. Let's start in the college hockey world, though, shall we? And of course, Alex Micheletti's favorite hockey team, the St. Cloud State Huskies. You heard it here first. Of course, we are a St. Cloud State hockey podcast, recapping a good 5-1 win on Friday night for the Huskies, and then a 3-2 overtime loss on Saturday. On Friday, Vieti Miettinen had 3 points. Josh Lidke had 2 points. Issa Brodzinski with 2 goals, and Andre Treball 2 assists. They were all multi-point game personnel for the Huskies. Joey Molinar, Vieti Miettinen leading the Huskies with 6 shots on goal in that contest. Pretty complete effort for an Omaha squad that looked like a squad that was missing a couple of players, 5 or 6 guys. They just looked like it was their first road game after 10 games at home for Omaha. So footing, especially on a big Olympic size sheet, it's hard to prepare for that. I think the Herbrooks National Hockey Center, when it's rocking, is a tough building to play in. But they found their footing on Saturday, did Omaha. St. Cloud State, though, I should say they found their footing on the scoreboard. I think St. Cloud controlled really most of that hockey game on Saturday, outshooting Omaha 45-29, 84 shot attempts by the Huskies in Saturday's contest, with 18 block shots by Omaha. Kevin Fitzgerald, the lone Husky with a multi-point game for the Huskies. He just continues his incredible tear in his 5th year as a St. Cloud State hockey player. So let's talk through that Friday hockey game very quickly. Like we mentioned, Vieti Miettinen from Jami Kranilin, Andre Treball, just under 5 minutes into period number 1. And then it was Miettinen again from Kevin Fitzgerald, Kyler Kupka to cap off the scoring in period number 1. In the second period, it kind of looked like Omaha was making a pushback. Easton Brodzinski, though, found the twine, a nice one-timer snapshot, if you will, over the blocker side of Isaiah Seville, who was sensational for Omaha in that. I thought Nolan Walker, Josh Lidke with the assist in that one. And then Joey Molinar able to pot the 4th goal of that game, a nice gritty play down low, bang rebound play to himself from Lidke and Miettinen to make it 4-0. And then Issa Brodzinski from Andre Treball about a little over halfway through the third to make it 5-0 before I don't want to say garbage time goal, but power play goal for UNO to make it 5-1 on that Friday night. Moving over to Saturday very quickly, a little bit less scoring in that hockey game. Jack Peart, good to see him back after injury. Wasted no time getting back on the board. 6:03 into period number 1. Josh Lidke, the freshman connection. Josh Lidke, a great points weekend for him. We just had him on the show last week, along with Mason Salquist. If you didn't get a chance to check out that interview, I definitely would. Kevin Fitzgerald, shocker, on the board again with an assist. Also had an assist on the third period game tying goal. It was Omaha back-to-back in period 2 and the start of period number 3 to make it 2-1 before Kevin Fitzgerald shorthanded off of that major penalty with about a minute left in that major from Micah Miller, able to tie that game. But it was Taylor Ward from Brandon McManus in overtime, which I thought even the overtime, the Huskies were able to control that game too. So it's funny the way the hockey world works. Omaha and St. Cloud, both 9-3. I don't know where St. Cloud will sit in terms of the rankings, if they'll still be a number 1 team in the country. We'll have to see. But Alex, you got a chance, especially on that Saturday, to kind of catch that wild finish there. It seemed like that game was all Huskies. I don't know that they controlled the entirety of the game on Friday, but it felt like Saturday that they just, I don't want to say it was a complete 60 minutes, but I think it was about as close of an effort as the Huskies have had this year. And somehow they don't get rewarded on the scoreboard. You have a goaltender that's able to keep a team in it with 43 of 45 saves. Is there any explanation for a college hockey game like that, or is that just a typical day in the NCAA?
And in the NCHC as well. I mean, there's never going to be an off night in that league. Incredible goalie matchup. You got two drafted goalies with Seville, with Vegas, and David Renick with the Kings. And so, it was going to be tight. And as we always know in college hockey too, the team that loses on Friday, Saturday night or afternoon, you better come prepared, because that team's going to come out firing. And so, St. Cloud, with their structure, they do such an amazing job keeping things pretty tight and, not allowing a lot of space in front of David. That's going to sometimes happen. You can control the game and then, get, overtime, sometimes that you get a lucky bounce, and that's what happened for Omaha, but, two really good teams. And so you can't be mad with how it went for the weekend. And you got to see some guys step up that, had been kind of quiet. You mentioned Josh there, Licky. I think at one time he was a Denver commit too. And so, I mean, really nice pickup for St. Cloud, and he's off to a good start now here. So hopefully that gives him momentum going forward. And Peart, like you mentioned, he's an incredible hockey player, and someone that Wild fans hopefully will get to see him in a couple of years. He's not very big, but he made an amazing, huge hit there last night, and got a really nice goal. And so it'll be nice to see his game develop. I don't think they're going to have to rush him, because the Wild have some pretty good defensemen that are around his same size, including captain Jared Spurgeon. So let him develop a little bit there in St. Cloud. And another guy that is so impressive is Kevin Fitzgerald, like you mentioned. I got a chance to see him a couple of weeks ago when they played Mankato, and he did a really, really good job in the face-off circle, and he shut down one of the best college hockey players, Nathan Smith, on that Saturday night game. And so I'm just so impressed with how he plays. And, what more can you say about Easton Brodzinski too? I'm sure Brett wishes there was a lot more Brodzinskis down the pipeline, just because, it's that family is incredible, including Easton. And so, good overall weekend for St. Cloud, and we'll see if they can ride the momentum into next week.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the goaltending matchup, Austin Roden in net for Omaha on Saturday. He, like you mentioned, stopped 43 of 45. A good weekend for him. He kind of came in relief in that third period of Friday's game as well. But Easton Brodzinski, like you mentioned, getting his 60th and 61st goal in St. Cloud State, his career in St. Cloud State there, moving to 10th all time on that goals list. And he might be able to climb that ladder a little bit more in his fifth season. I think that, his story has just been a remarkable one, coming back from that broken leg, especially, where you break a leg high up, in the femur there. And his return, I don't think anybody had anticipated for him to come back as quickly as he did, but moreover, the overarching theme on top of that is not only has he come back, but he's got 6 goals to his credit this season, and, feeling like he's starting to produce a little bit, coming into the weekend. As we look, he was tied for third in the team points lead with 7 points on the season, able to add a couple more this weekend. That's just resolve. You listen to the story about how he was able to come back in terms of what he had to do in the summer, where he had to get up at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning for all his physical therapy and training sessions. He was able to get there. He was able to work hard, able to, essentially say, if I'm going to play college hockey for a fifth season, I'm going to have to earn this and see if I can get my body ready. And not only has he been ready, he's played tough opponents, like your Mankato's, like your Golden Gophers, like your Wisconsins, looked good in the NCHC play so far, and actually looked pretty good from the hop starting this season. So congratulations to Easton on the great season that he's having and hoping to keep that rolling as well. David Renick, kind of an odd night for him, giving up 3 goals on 29 shots. And I don't know that that's indicative of essentially David Renick's play per se. I think it's just one of those games where low shot volume, credit the team in front of him. It will change his stats a little bit, but not too much. I mean, coming into the weekend with a 944 save percentage, and a 139 goals against average, you'll take that. Those are Dryden McKay numbers, Alex, if you will. And speaking of that, a power play that was clicking north of 43%, a little bit skewed, of course, from the St. Thomas series, but even without that series, they were still north of 30%. The St. Cloud State Huskies were. So you really can't complain, I think, if you're a St. Cloud State hockey fan about what is going on right now in the Granite City. A lot of good things to look forward to. Like I mentioned, a good matchup against Western Michigan, who, if we kind of look around the national scoreboard, they were actually swept by Denver this weekend, a Western group that played Michigan, the Wolverines, a couple of weeks ago to a split there. This Denver group, Caleb Peabody, who we should have on the show with you at one point, by the way, I think, he had kind of talked a little bit about how Denver might be this sneaky hockey team to kind of watch out for. Were you a little surprised with the Denver Western Michigan results, or is this just another day in the NCAA?
Yeah, like I said, another day in the NCHC. But I mean, I was, Western Michigan's been an interesting team to watch, because they had that amazing comeback against Colgate too, where they were down 5, but then they beat Michigan too, which is is going to be a tough team to beat, especially come April. But just another day in the NCHC, and Matt Carl's such an amazing coach for Denver. He always has his team ready, and they always seem to never have an off year. They just reload. So it's just another night in that conference. And, that's why the NCHC, I think, is the best conference in college hockey. It just gets you so prepared for, playoff time and in Frozen Four time. You always see an NCHC team right there in the mix. Like I said, every team is good. You always are playing a powerhouse too, it seems like. And so, it's so much fun to see some of these guys make it to the NHL too. I remember when I was at Mankato doing the games, and now seeing some of the guys that were in the WCHA and now are in the NHL and having great careers. I remember watching a guy like Jaden Schwartz, who was at Colorado College, and he's with Seattle now, and he was with St. Louis forever. And so it's fun to watch these college hockey guys, have amazing college careers and then get a chance to make it in the NHL. It's fun to watch their journey for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The NCHC, and then now kind of what is the Big Ten, are kind of the two leagues that are probably the biggest feeder for that as well. Wisconsin getting swept by Notre Dame in the Big Ten, as well as the Golden Gophers earning a split against Ohio State. Kind of a rocky first game. It was a game that the Gophers shouldn't have lost on Friday, but somehow they did. Funny the way the hockey world works. Speaking of Friday, Saturdays, North Dakota narrowly escaping Miami on Saturday with a 5-4 victory there. But the one that was intriguing to me last night on Friday, Minnesota Duluth blowing the doors off of Colorado College 5-0. And then if you went to Amsoil Arena expecting a similar result on Saturday, you got a 0-0 box score in a tie hockey game that nobody was able to find the back of the net, and a great goaltending performance all the way around there. So good. This Colorado College team, I think, is kind of trending in the right direction. We talked about it last weekend. They played the Huskies tough on that Friday. The Huskies had to earn an overtime victory in that one, and then were able to find a little bit more footing in terms of the scoreboard on Saturday with that 4-1 win there. But this Colorado College team, I think they're having the makings of being kind of a stout defensive team. They might not have all the offensive pieces yet, but I feel like when they're able to keep teams obviously close and in reach, they make things very interesting. Before we kick it off, we got about 8 minutes or so left in the regular portion of the show. Before we kick it off to some Minnesota Wild stuff, I suppose we can talk about Bemidji State and how great they are. No, I'm kidding, Alex. Although Bemidji State sweeping Lake Superior, they had a great weekend. We can talk about Mankato and the 9-2 drubbing they had on Friday, and a little bit closer of a flurry, a 5-3 finish on Saturday against Bowling Green. Minnesota State Mankato, what have you liked from them?
Yeah, I mean, a really good bounce back from losing last Friday against Ferris. They didn't have their full lineup, and so they were missing two key players in Julian Napravnik and Lucas Sauter, and so they were healthy this weekend, and so they had the full team, and so I think they were a little fired up being back home, and it's nice to see them score 9 goals and get goals from all out through the lineup. When you see 9 goals, you think of that Oprah meme where it's like, you get a goal, you get a goal, you get a goal. So, really nice bounce back weekend against a good Bowling Green team. They were top 15 pairwise coming into the weekend. And so, impressive sweep at home. And, again, we talk about systems, Mike Hastings' defensive, structure, just like Brett's, it's incredible. They don't give up very many shots. And so, expect Dryden to make, the key ones. And, he always seems to do that. And so, nice to see a guy like Cade Borchard get a hat trick on Friday. You had Ryan Sandlin, who's a fan favorite, get a couple goals over the weekend too. And so, just a really great sweep. They're really starting to take a hold of things in the CCHA. I think they'll win that league pretty easily. And so, it's fun. It'll be fun to see where this team can take things into the tournament, and maybe they'll get an NCHC team, and we'll get to see that battle. So good on the Mavs, and they got St. Thomas next weekend, who St. Club gave it to them a couple weeks ago, and so we'll see what Mankato does with them in the home and home next week.
I like to remind fans, Mankato 0-1 in Frozen Fours. Nonetheless, we're never going to let that one go, Alex, until you can change the script. But nonetheless, speaking of changing the script here in our final topic in the regular portion of the show, when would you have ever expected that you have Kirill Kaprizov? Okay, he's got 11 points in 14 games. Joining him with the team leading goals is a guy by the name of Ryan Hartman, 7 goals, 4 assists on the season. He was a first round draft pick, I should say, played in Chicago's organization for a while and then kind of bounced around before finding his home in Minnesota. This Wild group, I don't understand a lot of the pessimism that I see sometimes with this group. And I get, you're not going to be on for 82 games for sure. I don't think that Minnesota had the greatest showing in Vegas the other night. And they won a game in Pittsburgh last week that they maybe really had no business winning. But at the same time, Minnesota Wild hockey is fun to watch again, Alex, and they're finally got a couple of young core pieces that are exciting to watch as well. Some decent goaltending. Marcus Foligno with 10 points. You're getting contributions up and down the lineup. What have you liked from this Minnesota Wild squad so far?
Yeah, the number one thing, like you hit it, the depth is incredible. And they never seem to be out of it. Even in that Vegas game, they made a really strong push there to only lose by 1, but they don't seem to be out of any game, no matter what. And you see guys that they're given a chance and they're running with it. Rem Pitlick getting a natural hat trick last night. A guy that was on waivers and has battled through COVID and got a chance last night to contribute. And you're seeing guys like Nico Sturm having a really strong start. A college hockey guy, Brandon Duhaime, another college hockey guy. Yeah. So it's fun to see this team. They seem to be playing with a lot of energy, and youth is really been interjected into this team, and I think that's having a lot to do with it too. And even when you're having some of the big guns have quiet games, you have the third and the fourth lines that in the past haven't done much offensively, and now with some of the moves Billy G has made, they're starting to contribute to the score sheet, and all the defensemen are contributing offensively too, which is fun to see. I know people were worried about the third pairing with John Merrill, another college hockey guy, and Kulikov, who's kind of bounced around the league, but they've been serviceable. And what more can you say about Jonas Brodin and Jared Spurgeon? They are off to a really, really strong starts. And, Alex Goligoski, another college hockey guy with the Gophers. He's filled in admirably for replacing Ryan Suter as kind of the veteran of the group there. And so, what more can you say about Matt Dumba too? He always brings it offensively and defensively. So, yeah, this is a fun team to watch. They're right there in the mix in the Central and the West. And so, as long as Cam Talbot can stay healthy, I think this team could make a run finally and out of the first round, as long as they don't have to play Vegas or Colorado.
Yeah. Or throw Chicago in that mix, or St. Louis, or pretty much anybody that is throwing that back at us. I do find some vindication, though, in the piece where people, they question Matt Dumba and then he starts to produce offensively, or, what is the deal with Rem Pitlick? He hasn't looked that good. Well, here's a natural hat trick for you. Take that one, Minnesota Wild fans. And it's good to see players, I guess, prove the doubters wrong, so to speak. I kind of wanted to ask here kind of my final questions. Number one, I kind of read a nice little thread about, will Nico Sturm be in a Minnesota Wild sweater, or has he kind of earned a contract payday that's going to be too much for the Wild to handle? So that's my first question for you. And my second one, with this Minnesota Wild club, if they continue the way that they are and they approach the trade deadline, are they buyers? Are they still sellers? Or do you think that you don't disrupt what you've got going on right now with the young core and the young pipeline that you've got?
Yeah, it's good to see for Nico Sturm, like you mentioned. I think, he seems to be a kind of a loyal guy. I think he would take a team friendly deal. It's going to be interesting, like you mentioned, with the cap crunch there with the Suter and Parise buyouts. It's kind of making money tough. Hopefully he'll want to stick around. He's got a good opportunity here, but if he can, get a higher place in the lineup somewhere else, all for Nico doing that. Exactly. Money always talks. But sometimes the grass isn't greener on the other side. You're seeing a guy like Carson Soucy. It wasn't, he didn't make the choice to go to Seattle, but sometimes when you go on to a new team, you're in the press box, getting healthy scratched. And so, he's got a presence in the lineup here. He's not going to be sitting in the press box. And so it's going to come down to money. You saw a guy like Ryan Hartman take a team friendly deal because he definitely could have got a lot more than what he agreed to. And so I'm hoping the same for Nico, but you never know. This Wild team, I definitely think they should be buyers. They still need center help. It's incredible what they're doing with the centers they have right now.
Oh, come on, Alex. Victor Rask, man.
Freddie Gaudreau, I don't think you would consider him a top six center man. But there's going to be some good centers available. One guy I've always wanted on this team is Tomas Hertl. Probably going to have to give up a lot to get him, but he would just fit in so perfectly for this team. We'll see what they do with Marco Rossi too, because he's just having an incredible start for the Iowa Wild down there in the AHL. So I'd like to see him come up. You got some incredible young offensive guys in Iowa that could definitely be on this team. Like Billy G told them when they originally got called down there, produce and dominate the AHL, and that seems to be the case for Marco Rossi, and we'll say his Robin down there, Adam Beckman. So yeah, I can't wait to see some of these prospects finally make it fully. You got a guy like Kalen Addison too, that every time he's in a Wild uniform, it seems like he produces. So exciting time for the Wild. And I'm so glad that Billy G is the general manager of this team. I think he's the best general manager in Minnesota with all the sports teams. And what a move to keep Dean Evison as head coach too. I think that has paid off tremendously. You usually see when a GM gets hired that they pick their own guy. And he decided to stay with Dean, who he had no connection with. And so, yeah, it's fun. This team's rolling. And like I said, just got to keep the goaltender healthy because I don't trust Capo fully yet as an NHL goaltender. And so we need Cam to be healthy because I think he's been the MVP last year and he's, I think, the MVP right now as well.
Sure, Billy Guerin's exciting, but I mean, how about those Timberwolves, Alex? Anyway, there's a guy, he's a right winger. There's a guy that I've been high on for a long time. I know Minnesota would have to give up a lot to give him. I really like the way Travis Konechny plays out in Philadelphia. He's got 8 points in 13 games, 5'10", 175. He's only 24 years old. He kind of came in as a centerman, but has moved to a right wing. I always felt that he would be a perfect fit in this Minnesota organization. Not that Minnesota needs any more wingers. Like you mentioned, they need a little bit more center depth if they're willing to make that move, but he's been a guy that I've always been high on. And like you had kind of mentioned a little bit, that third pairing, not that they're household names per se, but when you mention the likes of Ian Cole and Carson Soucy, and I suppose throw Brad Hunt in the mix too, those are not guys that, I don't want to say that they're not easily replaceable, but they were steady third pairing defensemen. You knew their role, that you knew what they were going to bring to the table. That's a tough replacement in terms of what Minnesota had in terms of cap. And I think Kulikov, John Merrill, they've definitely stepped up. Kalen Addison has looked nice when he stepped in. I think the only one that has underperformed so far would be Jordy Ben, but he's seen very limited time. So, I mean, what do you say, right? So if Jordy Ben's, the guy that's going to struggle the most in the Minnesota Wild uniform, and he's got a handful of games, I suppose you'll take that all day long. Take the record being first in the Central Division, first to 20 points at the time of recording here on Sunday. So lots of hockey on the docket. Like we mentioned, Minnesota back in action, San Jose at home on Tuesday, Dallas on Thursday, and then they will head Saturday, Sunday to Florida and Tampa Bay, respectively. You won't want to miss it. Lots of good hockey action coming up. St. Cloud State men's hockey on the docket. They're going to be in Kalamazoo, Western Michigan, and they've got North Dakota the following weekend. I should say after Thanksgiving weekend. I think they have a week off, and then they've got North Dakota on the docket as well, too. Women's hockey, they've got the University of Minnesota in a home and home. So definitely, if you're a Huskies fan, go to the Herb Brooks National Hockey Center on Friday for some women's hockey action. Otherwise, follow the men's and women's teams on whatever mobile streaming device you happen to listen to. By the way, Alex, before we kick it off to our extra ice segment, I did want to say, I thought Pat Micheletti had a really good call of the games this weekend. I don't know if that relates anything to you at all, but I definitely thought that he had good command of the game and definitely does a good job. I've heard a lot of good things about him, that he should be at the next level as well too. And hey, there's a guy that had a pretty good college career himself, so to speak. But nonetheless, Alex, I think it's time we head on over to some extra ice. We're going to talk about a couple of topics here. The first one we're going to talk about is going to be a little bit of goaltending-esque conversation, the Ryan Lomberg goalie collision that we saw, the major penalty the other night. Should we change that goaltending rule? Should it stay the same? We'll have to see. And then we'll also talk about who the heck really is the best goal scorer of all time as Alex Ovechkin climbs the leaderboard. You won't want to miss it, and we'll head on over. Welcome in the Extra Ice Session, episode number 87. Noah Grant, joined this week by Alex Micheletti. Alex, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and I had a lot of fun here as we get into the rhythm of things. Good to have a co-host this week as well, too. So speaking of where it takes two to tango, if you will, the Ryan Lomberg situation crashing into, I don't even know who was in net for the Hurricanes. Do you happen to remember?
Ranta.
It was Ranta. I was going to say, I didn't think it was Anderson because I didn't have him in my fantasy lineup. So that's all that I had remembered. Pretty much a loose puck where it was a one-on-one with a defenseman, kind of a 50-50 opportunity. And you saw Lomberg barely briefly touch the puck before running into Ranta there. And it kind of looked like he tried to avoid the collision, but also was extended trying to play the puck at the same time to see if he could chip it past. Ended up colliding with the goaltender, probably about top of the circle-ish, something like that. Maybe, it would be probably fair to say. As a former forward, I get the whole ejection for automatic injury type thing. I have a hard time with this one, Alex. I've always had a hard time with this. I understand the rules in place because goalies are less mobile. You're trying to protect them. Obviously, you don't want to see guys get hurt. But I'm also of the mind that at what point when you wander from your net, do you kind of accept the risk in your contract that, hey, if I get bowled over here, maybe I shouldn't have come out this far from my crease. Are you a guy that feels that Ryan Lomberg should have gotten a major penalty there? Or do you feel like goaltenders, is there a point where if they come out to play the puck, not that they're fair game to be hit, but that they kind of accept the risk that they might have a little bit of contact if they kind of disrupt a player's momentum coming down the ice? Or did you feel like the right call was made on the ice and the rule should never change?
This one I think kind of was a unique situation. I mean, Florida was just dominating. They just absolutely were just smoking. Carolina, and so I think the score had to do with a lot of it. But Ranta came out there. I mean, he knew that something like this could happen. You don't just do that for fun. And so I just think the score had a lot to deal with it, and that the refs. You saw the game that was already out of hand, and they didn't want any more fighting to happen. And so, I don't think it should have been called, but I can see where it was coming from the refs, and they were just trying to take control of the game a little bit. But that's such a bang play. It's tough. Like you mentioned, you see an injury, of course you're going to see a penalty come, but I don't think it should have been called, but that's going to happen.
And it kind of, the comparison that I made was probably the most infamous one that we've seen is the Milan Lucic Ryan Miller collision way back when. And I think that the difference that you have is that Miller wins the race to that puck, and Milan Lucic his intention was not to play the puck. His intention was to bowl Ryan Miller over. I don't think Lucic knew that till he entered the zone and got to the top of the circle and then said, well, F it.
That's not a guy I would ever want to take a punch from. Lucic has been a heavyweight for so many years, and he's just an intimidating guy watching play, because he can still score a little bit, but man, that guy can punch for sure too and hit. He's a freight train out there.
Yeah, not often you see Ryan Miller do a cartwheel not often you see Ryan Miller do a cartwheel under his own power or discretion. Let's just put it that way. One heck of a goaltender, of course, held a particular shutout record until a particular goalie who shall not be named broke it in the college hockey world not too long ago. Kidding. Congrats to Dryden McKay, and one heck of a season and career that he's had for the Mankato Mavericks. But, kind of going back to this, and I had a good conversation on Twitter with one of my former teammates who played at UNLV, who's kind of the ACHA Division I team that partners with the Vegas Golden Knights down there. He's a Swedish kid. And we had a conversation about it. And, he, as a goalie, he goes, absolutely not. He goes, the rule is there where there's nothing written that goalies can't come out. Goalies should be protected. They're less mobile, given the goaltender side. And I think, that's the discussion that we have is you talk to most goaltenders and they're like, no, I should be able to come out and play a puck because it's a risky play for me to come out and make this play. And if I'm going to do it, I should be protected. Same with when I go behind the net, you can't impede my progress, that sort of thing. And I'm with you, Alex. I'm with your head motion where, yeah, I mean, if you step 2 feet to the side of the net and you try to play a puck and I come in and I take your legs out from under you, that's different. But I feel like, maybe if you make a kind of a 3-sided rectangle, if you will, from the goal line up to the face-off dots, maybe go across the other face-off dot and down. I mean, that's about as far as I'm probably even willing to give a goaltender. I feel like if you're anywhere beyond that, and that's a large patch of ice. I feel like if you're anywhere beyond that as a goaltender, like if you go and you play a puck in the corner, and not to say that you should be lit up or eligible for body checking or that sort of thing, but it's kind of like, at what point do you know that if you're going this direction and a forward and a defenseman are going this direction, and it's a 50-50 loose puck, I don't think any forward in the NHL is pulling up on that play. We saw in the Stanley Cup final back in, 2014, it was Ben Bishop running into his defenseman, and it was an easy tap in for Chicago and kind of was a game changer in that first period to maybe en route to their Stanley Cup there back in, was it 14 or 15? It might've been 2015 when the Hawks won that year and for the third Stanley Cup. And, those are things that, like, as a forward, that's my question. At what point do you say, you've come out too far, not that you should be hit, but maybe you've accepted the risk? Alex, is there kind of an area for you that you feel like maybe goaltenders should be a little, I don't want to say less protective, but more restricted in their safeness, if you will?
Yeah. I mean, we see it in the NFL when a quarterback decides to run, then they become a runner, and it's fair game. They're no longer as protected. If they're willing to make that decision to come out there, I mean, I think there should be a little bit more of a judgment call as far as, calling a penalty or not, because they've decided to make that move out. And so I think, hey, you're fair game with because like you said, none of these forwards, or if a defenseman decides to cheat a little bit up forward and get up forward, they're not going to slow down. It's just at that point it becomes a momentum, or like you're on a collision course. So I think they should be treated as a skater. And so it's definitely, I wish there was more of a judgment call, but anytime you see an injury too, it always seems like the goalie gets the benefit of the doubt. And so I'm sure goalies listening to this aren't going to agree with us at all, but that's, we both of us seem to be more of the offensive protector, or being on their side of things, but it's definitely a tough one. And I wish the referees made it more of a judgment call, and it always seems to be favored towards the goalies, but I get the safety factor too.
And don't think for a second that netminders don't use that to their advantage. I've had plenty of times where I've came around the net where I've been impeded by a goaltender. I've even been slashed by a goaltender as they come on, by, and I get it. They're not as mobile. If you're going to play the puck, behind the net, obviously don't come in and freight train them. I get that. And I think, the ultimate call for Ryan Lomberg was a charge, which I don't really know how you get a charging penalty when you touch the puck steaming down the ice, and then a second later you end up running into the player. It's kind of, you just grab possession of the puck and now you lost it. You haven't even gotten a single stride in there, let alone three. I don't care if he's going fast to get to the puck. He played that puck before he hit the goaltender, and if anything, like, if it would have been a 2-minute elbowing call, I don't know that I would be up in arms per se about it. I guess I could see that perspective a little bit more, but yeah, like you mentioned, kind of on the forward side, it's, it's not like he saw a goaltender that he was going to lose the foot race by 5 feet and said, you know what, it's hell or high water. Here comes a line brawl. You know what I mean? It felt like a player that truly was trying to make a play on the puck, had a defenseman that was also kind of hot on his heels, riding him in a particular direction. It felt like he tried to swivel his body as much as he could. But like you mentioned, a bang, bang play. What are you supposed to do in the span of about 2 feet when you're going, 20 miles an hour? So I'm with you, Alex. I'm with you in terms of, does that need to be changed? Does it not? And, you made a football reference, for all the hecticness of Michael Vick's career. One of the things I loved about the way Michael Vick played is he was a quarterback that rarely ever actually slid too, when he was able to run the ball up. And it's kind of talks about, I have a friend who's a big CFL fan, and we go to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. In the CFL with only 3 downs, you see quarterbacks with that similar mentality, where they're going to run the ball and they're going to kind of accept the fact that they might get hit too. And not to say, again, you shouldn't light up a quarterback, but at the same time, sometimes it's like, as a defensive tackler, are you a little bit in between and knowing, is this guy going to slide, or do I have to take care of him for the next 2 yards as well too? So it's kind of that in-between piece that still does favor the quarterbacks. Not to say that we shouldn't, have a Terry Bridgewater, I just got knocked out on the, on the field situation, but anyhow, that's what the NHL needs. You heard it from Alex, right? More subjective calls. Fans love that, right? That between those and the video replay, but they did review the major call. I think, like you said, the injury kind of plays into that as well too. But on the forward side, I think that definitely needs a look at in terms of the rule book as well. But speaking of books, why don't we talk about the record book here to finish up the show, Alex? And speaking of an Alex as well, Ovi, the great 8, moving to 4th all-time, passing Brett Hull, now with 742 goals to his career, 602 assists, 1,344 points for Alex Ovechkin in his career. He's chasing down Jaromir Jagr at 766 in the goal column, Gordie Howe at 801, and Wayne Gretzky at 894. I think that Jaromir Jagr and Gordie Howe are definitely within reach for the great 8. Wayne Gretzky is another question entirely. It's going to depend on Alex Ovechkin's health. He's going to be ready to turn 36 here. If he's not 36 already, I think that, again, 742, I think he's got a good, at least, another 60 goals in him for sure. But the question is, does he have another, what would that be? 150? I think
154.
Yeah. That's 152, I think, is where
152
to tie 153 to beat that record.
153. Yeah.
First of all, Alex, I guess my first question is, Do you think the grade 8 stays healthy enough and productive enough to hit this record?
I think he's going to get there. I really do.
Right.
It's, he's 36 right now, and what he's doing, it's just absolutely incredible. I think he stays in such good shape. If Jágr can play as long as he did, I think Ovi can do it too. And he'll never lose the hands. And so, you put him on the power play, that man is going to score always. From his office right there in the dots. It's incredible. And what he's doing too, he doesn't have his partner in crime this season in Nicholas Backstrom. And so he's kind of, dealing with new line mates, but, he's kind of got that Russian connection too with Kuznetsov, and Tom Wilson seems to be his protector out there on that line. And so, he's got a good thing rolling with that group, and John Carlson, the American defenseman back there on the power play with them. And so, I think he can do it. It'll be fun to see him pass Jágr. Just another guy that was just so much fun to watch. And so I can't wait for him to do that. It was cool to see Brett Hull do a tribute to him the other night. And so, I love, we talked about Rick Nash. That was another, a guy that was in my wheelhouse as fandom. Ovi, same thing right there, similar age. And just the goals that he's scored in his career, you can think back and always YouTube the one against the Coyotes when he was just coming into the league, and, him falling on the ice and, the stick behind his head and getting that goal. And just what a fun player to watch. And, when he scores a goal, it's like he's every time he scores, it's like he's a little kid out there, and it's so much fun. And now he's got two sons too. Of course, they're boys, OV juniors, and so I'm sure they're going to be phenomenal hockey players. And I hope he can play until he's 43, 44. I'm sure he won't stop until he gets the record. He's just a Russian machine. He's a tank too. That helps too with how strong he is. And I think he's going to do it. I believe in him. He's got a good first name. I love watching OV play, and I'm so glad that he didn't switch teams either. It looks like he's going to be a Capital for life. And fun to see him get a Stanley Cup finally too, a couple of years ago. And so, I'm definitely rooting for Ovi to get there and pass a great one.
Yeah, him and Sidney Crosby kind of are the duo that have kind of defined this generation a little bit. Alex Ovechkin about 200 more games than Crosby, but I was kind of curious to see where Crosby sat on this list. Like we mentioned, Alex Ovechkin in 4th, Sidney Crosby 49th, 486 goals for him, 839 assists. So actually pretty comparable in points, 1325 in terms of that, but you can tell Sidney Crosby more of a playmaker. The other piece that I was kind of curious about too, as you look at Alex Ovechkin, they have a list of here of all the teams that each player played for. Alex Ovechkin only playing for Washington, of course, maybe the closest. Gordie Howe, Detroit mostly, and then kind of played for Hartford a little bit, but still listed with 2 teams. The next closest player to have only one team played for also happened to be a Detroit Red Wing. Alex, do you happen to have any idea who it might be? 10th all time on this list. Any idea?
Is it Yzerman? It
is Yzerman. Stevie Y was 692. You're like, oh boy, I better take a good stab at this one here. Yeah. Yzerman was 692, and Mario Lemieux only playing for Pittsburgh at 690 at 11 or 10 and 11 respectively. Those are the next 2 that have only played for one team. So if you go from there onward, number 9, Mark Messier, Mike Gardner, Phil Esposito, Marcel Dion, Brett Hull, and like I mentioned, Ovechkin, Jágr, Gordie Howe, and Wayne Gretzky. Gordie Howe was a pretty pure goal scorer. Of course, a lot more games played, and in comparison, right? Jágr, 1,733 games. Gordie Howe, 1,767 games, just had a whale of a career. Get it? He played for the Whalers. But Wayne Gretzky only at 1,487. So there's kind of a good comparable for, will Alex Ovechkin get there before Wayne Gretzky's number of games played too, depending on his production, we'll have to see. So my ultimate question for you is this, as you kind of give me, the in-between here, and I definitely agree with you too, it's different in today's game, but that's the question. Today's game and Alex Ovechkin versus Wayne Gretzky's era in the 80s and 90s. In your opinion, Alex, as you kind of hear some of the names on this list, who is, in your opinion, the purest, best NHL goal scorer of all time?
I'm going to go with Ovi. I just think,
Yep.
It's tough to compare eras, but I mean, the goaltenders are just so much different now compared to when Wayne was playing. I mean, and the equipment and the size. I mean, some of these goalies, it's amazing how some of these guys can still score on them. Like, you take a look at all the tall goaltenders that are in the league right now.
Yeah.
It's just in their equipment too. It's incredible. Andre Vasilevsky, Pecorino before he retired, he was a gigantic goaltender. Devin Dubnyk, Ben Bishop, so, I mean, these goalies are, 6'5", 6'6", and there's not a whole lot of room to score, to shoot at. And for what Ovi's done, it's absolutely incredible. And not discounting Wayne at all. But I think Alex, he just was a pure goal scorer. Wayne was a playmaker too. Wayne could set up everybody. And I think Ovechkin just, that's, you're going up pure goal scoring. He is the man. And what he does on the power play is absolutely incredible, because every team knows what's coming. It was just like Mikko Koivu at the backhand and shootouts. But Ovi, he's always been in the same spot on that power play, and he still scores. It's just incredible. When he gets the puck on his stick, no one shoots it faster. And the man tries to play the entire power play. He never wants to come off. You look at Daily Face-Off, the website that tells lines, and you see Ovechkin on both units, and so it's funny. I love watching him play. It's so much fun. He's right there as like the Gretzky of this era. I always tell people him and Connor McDavid, it's two guys that it's must watch every time they're on TV. And so, the amount of skill Ovi has, it's just incredible. And he's such a good guy too, which is awesome. And he loves when his teammates score too. And so, definitely a guy to root for. And I hope he can pass some of these legends. It's incredible, incredible to see. And I hope he pulls it off.
Yeah, kind of looking at some of I was curious as the statistical value of kind of, you compare the generations, so I was like, what is the historical data that tells, what was the average goals per game over the course of a season in the National Hockey League, and power play opportunity as well? Because like you mentioned, that's where he sets up. And that, in my mind, Wayne Gretzky, we knew that Wayne Gretzky was always going to be one step ahead, but he didn't have, Wayne Gretzky's office was behind the net. Alex Ovechkin's is right in the wheelhouse, if you will. And just like you said, the release is coming, and it's still just that deadly. And not only, a guy that's dynamic, he's fairly dynamic on the backhand. I think Sidney Crosby is probably better in the backhand category, but other than that, the wrist shot and the slap shot, the snap shot, Ovechkin, if it's on his forehand, it's probably in the back of the net.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about 1981-82 here. 4.1 goals per game, the highest since that mark, I believe, in the National Hockey League. 4 power play opportunities per game, and about 0.91 power play goals per game. So usually if you got 4 power plays, you're probably scoring on one of them in 1981-82. All right, let's go forward a decade, if you will. 1991-92, 3.48 goals a game. So that's starting to drop already. 5 power play opportunities a game, and a 0.97 power play conversion rate. So again, you get 5 power plays, you'll probably score on one of those, but the average goal rate starts to go down. 2001-02, 2.62 goals per game. So now we're starting to really see that drop. 4 power play opportunities and a 0.65 conversion rate. So teams starting to get a lot better defensively. Goaltenders starting to get a lot better. 2011-12, 2.73 goals per game. Only 3 power play opportunities per game and about a 0.57 conversion rate. So starting to really drop. And then this season right now, we're at about 296 right now with 3.09 power play opportunities a game and a 0.62 power play conversion rate that will probably drop down as the season goes along. But, you compare that right back in the 80s, you have 3.5, 4.0 in terms of goals per game. Statistically, that's a huge shift in, not only goals per game, power play opportunities. So you're getting less power play opportunities per game on a given night. You have better goaltending, better defense, and you're still able to come remotely close to this record. I agree with you 110%, Alex, the way that Ovechkin, is able to score. And I just think it's a treat to watch, to know that we are potentially watching not only one of the purest goal scorers of all time, but potentially the purest goal scorer maybe in our lifetime. We might never see another Alex Ovechkin that is as natural of a goal scorer as he is. So just utterly impressive to watch here. He's not he's not as great as Kirill Kaprizov, though, when Kirill breaks that record, right? Wild fans could only hope. I've been impressed. I still, Alex, to close the show, I still think it's funny. We still have fans that feel like Kaprizov is underproducing, and maybe in the goal column he is a little bit, but assist-wise, he's been on par, 11 points in 14 games, tied for the team lead with Ryan Hartman. I don't know why people get in such a tizzy about how they need a guy to be a 20 goal scorer, a 25 goal scorer, a 30 goal scorer. My mentality is this: if you get 50 points or 80 points in a season, they contribute to 50 goals or 80 goals in the season. They all look the same, and production is production. I think that the overall points value, I think you have to look at that. I guess to close the show with a little bit of Minnesota Wild discussion very briefly, is Kirill Kaprizov underperforming in your mind, Alex?
I don't think so. Good,
because you wouldn't be coming back if you said yes. So,
it's the big thing is, come postseason time, that's when you got to, that's when it matters. But you see, it might not always be showing up in the stat sheet, but he makes the team so much better. He draws so much defensive, attention, presence toward, attention towards him. And so, it just, especially on the power play too, the movement of the power play has been so much better. And so he does all the little things, and it's getting there, it's ramping up. The game against Ottawa, that was incredible. It's when you get a chance to have him on 3-on-3 in overtime, good luck. I mean, when he gets space, it's so much fun to watch. And he's Ovi Jr. with his physical presence too. He can stand up for himself. And so, this franchise is so lucky to have him. I don't think people should be complaining about him. He's under a ton of pressure right now, and as the season continues to move along, I think he'll be right there as a point per game player. I think the fans that are complaining need to quiet down a little bit, because what he's going to bring to this franchise, I think he's going to do even more than Marian Gaborik. And so, it's fun to see him. Fun to have a Russian on the team. This team for so long shied away from having Russians. And so they just bring a different element to the game. It's so much fun to watch. Like we've been talking about Ovechkin, when they score, it's like they're like a little kid out there. So it's great.
Yeah, we had actually, I was trying to find to see the cap friendly pieces here, because cap friendly has a little tool that kind of tells you a little bit about, players that are paid over $9.5 million. I think that was the other piece too, is that guys, were really worried about, that the contract size, if you will. I think the other piece is that if you're, a Minnesota Wild fan and you're talking about Kirill Kaprizov and kind of the season that he had last year, and I think he was productive, at least on the offensive side in the goal column as well. As I'm trying to find a little bit here, cap friendly, I'm just trying to search a little bit for the tool that is able to let us know what the salary piece is. But nonetheless, Kirill Kaprizov, he's a playmaker. He's not a guy that I think with his goal production people have him pegged as a goal scorer. Yeah, I mean, he can score goals, but really, like you mentioned, his ability is his physical presence, his ability on his edges, his ability to play, that playmaker style where he draws players to him and then either creates the offense himself or more than likely drops a puck to a player that is now left all alone because two defenders are on him. I mean, the final thought here, Alex, I mean, in your mind, and we asked you this on the show when you were a guest a couple weeks ago, what is it about Kirill's play style that makes him so effective in terms of, being a Marian Gaborik with an extra bit of oomph and maybe being the best player in franchise history?
Yeah. He just knows where to go on the ice. He finds those areas of the ice. And his vision is just so incredible. You saw, in that Vegas game, that the pass he made to set up the goal, it's incredible. And you mentioned his edge work too. It's, he llooks very Connor McDavid like when he's on his edges like that. He's such a fun player to watch. And he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he brings that physicality and mentality that helps him so much too. And he does such a good job in front of the net. And he makes his line so much better. The chemistry he has with Matt Zuccarello is fun to watch, to see that continue to develop. Like I said, the physicality I think is what makes him a little bit different from Marian Gaborik, and just how smart of a hockey player Kirill is, he just brings a different mentality than this team has ever had, and helps so much on the power play. I think we'll be saying he'll be the top goal scorer in Wild history soon enough for sure.
Yeah, kind of looking at some of the results here, Connor McDavid, of course, 25 points, having a great season. Alex Ovechkin, guys that are making over $9.5 million, if you will. Ovechkin with 24.
Draisaitl.
Yeah, not bad. Kopitar, 16 points for him. Kane, Tavares, Panarin, all have 15 points. Mitch Marner with 14. And then Austin Matthews has 12 points. And then you've got Kirill Kaprizov just sneaking into the top 10 there with 11 points respectively. So, I mean, you got to pay attention to, I think if you're a Wild fan, to understanding that he's on par in production, maybe, a point or a couple points shy of being with some of the best and most iconic franchise players around the league, and superstars. And like you mentioned, I think we're lucky to have him. And I think, if this is him playing poorly under pressure, so to speak, I can't wait to see when he finally is able to open it up and, let the horses run, if you will. But right. We've just about run out of time here, Alex. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. Hopefully we'll have you again next week. Like we mentioned, Nick Maxon is going to be out for at least a little bit here with his duties that he has related to his occupational pieces on Sundays and Mondays. Other than that, though, Alex, like I mentioned, St. Cloud State men's hockey in Kalamazoo with Western Michigan, women's hockey home and home against the Gophers, and then the Minnesota Wild Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, home, away, and away. You won't want to miss it. Alex, of course, a heavy presence on Twitter. I saw you were featured one of your tweets in The Athletic last week, so I wonder what it's like to be on that status level, if you will. I was sifting through. I was like, oh, well, all right. This guy's important.
Yeah, it's fun when Michael does that. Yeah, it's cool. I'm over 2,000 followers now, so that's fun, and I just love interacting with everybody on there and sharing clips and stuff. It's fun to talk about them too, and nothing better than hockey, and seeing incredible goals like the one the other night, the Patrick Kane set up to Alex DeBrincat. That not many people can do that, and so it's the beautiful game. And when those high enders are going, it's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, it's we've got kind of a a piece here. I think a lot of fans were excited to have you on the show, of course, at Alex Micheletti on Twitter. You can find you. I'm at SCSU Hockey 91. I don't tweet a whole lot. I probably should tweet a lot more, but we do tweet quite a bit, of course, when the show comes out at Warming House Den. You can find us all there. And then, of course, Alex's shows at MNNCAA. If I can spit that one out, of course, the Soda Pod and the various pieces that he's going on. Just find Alex and you'll find what he's got going on. Fun to interact with, ask him a lot of questions. He'd be happy to answer them. But Alex, I think that will do it for episode number 87 of the Huskies Warming House podcast. For Alex Micheletti, I'm Noah Grant, and we will see you soon in the den.
One-timer coming, they score! Ripped in! A bomb from Pervix!
So Dana Rasmussen fires and she scores. Dana Rasmussen for the Huskies.
Dwayne Kaprizov in for a chance to win it. He scores! Kirill the Thrill is for real. Welcome to the NHL. A game winner.
St. Cloud Cathedral is now 42.6 seconds away from wrapping up the school's first ever title.